What an opportunity to step on stage, whether it's your first show or the Olympia. It should be just a blessing of a moment. But no, I was not prepared to meet someone. I looked like a mess. I forgot deodorant that day. Hair was, I mean, I don't have hair, but either way, I wasn't like, I'm going to the gym to pick up girls today.
And what do I see pull into the parking lot, which immediately sent my mind into, oh, great, he's probably a huge meathead.
A lot of people want to know about mentality and the stresses of competing at something like the Olympia. And it's all about perspective. I think I had more pressure on myself competing in earlier shows from expectations that I thought were from other people being put on me, that I had something to prove. I came from this thing of like, John is pretty educated in this, so I felt like I had to display it on stage with my physique. And also people expected something of me. In reality, that wasn't the truth. Most people in your inner circle that are showing up to your shows, they just are happy for you and proud of you either way. They could care less if you're like, 1% body fat higher, you get second place. They truly just are there to make sure you're happy. And so I think perspective is extremely important in making sure you're doing this for yourself and you enjoy the process. So it's actually, stress has dropped off as I've gotten more competitive, because I've had moments where I've been so upset after a show with the placings and it just ruined the experience. But that's bodybuilding. Like, you're gonna have bad placings, you hopefully will have some good placings, but if you have that much emotional distress from just the outcome, you're never gonna make it doing this for 10 plus years, and that's how you get really good. So you definitely have to be shifting to more process focused and loving every moment of bodybuilding. And those moments can't be, I'm 56 days out. It's constantly keeping perspective that this is a very fortunate position to choose to bodybuild and to get on stage where you have other people in the world that are truly suffering, that don't have these opportunities. These are luxuries. It is, that's how I feel about the Olympia. Just stepping on that stage is already the win. Going there and knowing there's a expectation of myself to deliver. I'm an absolute killer on prep. Like, I train to be Mr. Olympia. That's how I execute. And I have some expectations, but I also have the perspective of making sure that I enjoy the process. And every moment when I'm out there at the Olympia, I live in the moment and I absolutely enjoy it and love it. And I don't ever want to look back and see the Olympia being a negative surrounding emotional attachment to it, to where I'm like, gosh, I was so stupid back then. Like, I wish I just sat and enjoyed it. J3 University started just as a place that I wanted a hub for education, just for the athletes that I coached. I just found myself repeating myself over and over, and like, gosh, if I had a place where I had videos where people could learn this stuff and they could better themselves as athletes, it would make my coaching process a lot better. And so that's how it initially started. And when I finally got in touch with like the right people I needed to, my business partner, Mark Fox, I explained this to him. He's like, this sounds really like, kind of like bodybuilding school, like almost like a university. I was like, yeah, I guess so. And then that kind of built the idea of J3 University. I just knew the value I had and that I wanted to help teach people to better themselves in bodybuilding. But he had the bigger vision of going beyond just teaching my clients, but let's teach everyone how to bodybuild and elevate themselves as a competitor. And it just kind of like opened my mind of like something even bigger that could become. So the mission now is to elevate physique education and set the standard of how we should operate as athletes and coaches. And so that's kind of guides my decisions and everything I do around business, and even it ties into my personal bodybuilding as well. And that's really the mission of J3U, just elevate the physique standard. And a lot of this started with my self-coaching and what I've learned, to just kind of share that journey. The mistakes, the successes, just like we all have. When you start in bodybuilding, you're definitely a hobbyist and you're trying to fund this thing the best that you can. So for me, I had a physique that will help carry me post bodybuilding. For others, you might not be at that level to where bodybuilding is still going to be a hobby and you need to leverage more of the coaching. So your bodybuilding journey might need to come second to you coaching athletes, because that's going to carry you over into post bodybuilding and a career for you. So someone else said that bodybuilding steals a young man's working years. And that absolutely can be true, to where you're left at the end of bodybuilding with maybe some stage time, but not a sustainable support for your family and yourself afterwards. So managing all this is extremely important. And where I'm at currently, like prepping for the Olympia, I probably have about actual 5 hours of true work time per day. The rest is all dedicated to bodybuilding, resting, relaxing. To reach anything at a high level, whether it's being an entrepreneur and trying to have the best, whatever, shoe company, or being in school and trying to be the top of your class, or it's in another sport, if you're trying to be the best bodybuilder, you absolutely will have vast sacrifices to make. And people talk about balance, and I think that's such a loose term. I think balance could be interpreted as mediocrity, that you're able to do a lot of few things and you can be good at a lot of things. That has to be a bit of extreme when you are looking to achieve this high level. Balance to an outsider might not exist. What is balance though? At least I feel I have balance in my life, but in the perspective of what I enjoy to do. It's having enough time that you actually enjoy what you're doing. So I don't need balance because I love what I do. But either way, to get to that point, and I think that's the part of what is defined as balance in bodybuilding, or whether you're a CEO of a high level, from an outside view, there's a lot of sacrifices made that many are not willing because they want other things that for them is considered their balance. So maybe it's a robust social life or family life, or they don't want to spend 14 hours working a day to make a business work.
Double tasking.
That's fine. I don't think you can have it all though and be the CEO, the top bodybuilder, and the greatest dad in the world with 5 kids and wife and everyone's happy. Like, that doesn't exist. So sacrifices that I've made on a personal level, starting out as a hobbyist bodybuilder and wanting to take this farther, people that are around you in your life, they're not signed up for that. And you might get a lot of people in your inner circle now that are starting to go against that. Like, I was married before and became the bodybuilder after the fact. And that just didn't align with like where that relationship was, where certain family and friends were. And that ended that relationship. I had to make that choice to pursue bodybuilding in a life that probably better aligned with seeing out the best version of myself, or the life where I was having to make compromise in what was probably really going to bring me the ultimate happiness and self-fulfillment. And that just wasn't acceptable. So ended up having to just be alone for a bit and struggle financially to a degree. I was always a planner, so not a huge deal, but you got to a lonely point within bodybuilding where, what's this going to look like? I was at the time trying to do my own business. I had to go back to full-time working at the hospital. And that's when I had that struggle in bodybuilding where you had your side hustle job, you have your main 9-to-5 job, you're doing cardio morning and night, trying to prep, you're training right after work. It was nonstop rigorous, but then there's breaks you get along the way and things start opening up, because I feel like I was truly on the path that I needed to be. And those little lights that you get and doors that open up just help let you know that you're on the right path for your ultimate purpose. And it doesn't feel like that always. I think that's what people need to realize, that it a lot of times feel like you might fail, that should you really be doing this? There's a lot of those questions that I had. I'm making the right choices, but you have to truly believe in what you're doing and also following your passion and that purpose, and know ultimately it's making you the better version of yourself. All that sacrifice did lead me to where I'm currently at, where I have Renee, my beautiful, perfect wife. That aligns with, that vision together that we now have. And as together started, J3 University, which that would have never existed. Like looking back at my life, I would be working at a hospital, maybe a manager, 9 to 5, pretty unfulfilled. And so now I have a very fulfilling life because of the sacrifices that I was willing to make, the hard choices. And not telling anyone to go like quit their family or quit their job and go bodybuild, but whatever that relates to you in your life, that calling, that passion, that purpose is something that I do believe is worth chasing and taking the risk on. And there might be aspects in your life along the way that will be hard decisions you have to cut ties with, and make sure that inner circle is supportive of seeing the best version of yourself, and also considering those people that you absolutely do need closer in your life, that it's gonna bring them up as well. Renee and I met at the gym. Go
Surprise.
figure. I was actually having a bad day. It's a Sunday. My apartment, I wasn't supposed to train. It was an off day, but I was like, I just got to get out of the apartment. Just need to get away. I'm going to go up to Gold's gym. I was training, I think, biceps and abs, just whatever I could train for the day that would fit in. Why'd you go to the gym, Renee?
Well, back then I didn't really have scheduled days. But remember, it was a couple days after Thanksgiving, and I was like, oh man, I ate really bad on Thanksgiving. I better go to the gym. And he was sitting on a bench, and I needed some dumbbells, and in order to get those dumbbells, I had to walk past him. I should probably say hi.
I had already been training, and I saw Renee she was there. I'm like, oh, I know her. I've never actually seen her in person. She looks better in person than she does. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I was not prepared to meet someone. I looked like a mess. I forgot deodorant that day. Hair was, I don't have hair, but either way, I wasn't like, I'm going to the gym to pick up girls today. But anyway, Renee walks past me. She's on her way back, and we're like, hey, I think we both had the same thing in mind, right? Like, we should say hi. And we ended up chatting for a little bit, even at crossing dumbbell path.
Which I think is funny because we're both very similar in the way that we're very introverted. So for us to go out of the way to like say hi, it's kind of a big deal.
Even to talk that long. Like at the gym now, it's just the briefest thing I could say to get back to my workout.
In and out.
The conversation ends. Renee goes back to, I think you were on the floor.
Yeah, I was doing push-ups.
Yeah, okay. I was like, I talked to this girl for a bit. She's really pretty, and this is my bad day, right? Like, that's it. I'm gonna get a date now. It's gonna happen now. Mind you, this is like 11 a.m., something like this. So I'm like, well, I'll take her to IHOP. We'll go have breakfast right now. So walk up, I was like, hey Renee, just wanna see if after you work out, you wanna go grab something to eat. And she was like, oh, well, I ate really bad on Thanksgiving, I don't know. I was like, it's all good. You can get the egg whites and the fruit. And so
he was already telling me what I was gonna eat.
And so begins already making your diet. So anyway, she says yes. Great.
So I drive to IHOP, and I think I got there first, and what do I see pull into the parking lot, which immediately sent my mind into, oh great, he's probably a huge meathead because he drives up in what? A Mustang, which, okay, it was a Mustang, but at the bottom of it, it was like American Muscle in big letters, and I was just like, oh man.
I didn't put that on. I bought the car and it had that. A 60-year-old man put this on the car.
We sat down and we started talking, and I was like, oh.
Same thing, completely surprised with Renee. Your perception of someone on social media and what they put out can be completely different, and it was relaxing and had a great IHOP first date.
So, of course, when we first met, I was not a competitor whatsoever. I was just somebody that liked to work out. I had competed in the past, but I completely had written it off from ever getting on stage again. So when we met, I was a non-competitor and he was the competitor.
She was hardcore though, basically lived a competitor lifestyle. This was 2016 we met, so I had just done a pro debut. I'd just gotten sponsored by Animal that year too. I had this new Animal contract. I'm started dating this girl. This is great. It's all going well, and we were just in the early throes of love, right? I think it worked out because we go train together.
We had a lot of sushi dates.
A lot of sushi dates, a lot of Greek food.
Greek
Remember
food.
garbanzo?
Yeah.
It was like the Subway of Greek food we'd go to a lot. But anyway, what happened in 2020 was the announcement of the wellness division. And Renee was like, I didn't want to compete because I wasn't something that fit her body style best, but she knew about wellness in Brazil, so it was coming. So it's like, Renee, this is something that, are you interested in doing it? And so that started her preparations for the 2020 season for wellness. And now we're competing together. And that year, that was a rough year, but we did preps together. But all along the way, like when I was prepping for my shows, she was like right alongside me, like doing cardio, basically going through the prep process.
I feel like that kind of was a nice introduction into future preps together.
Where we're both the same mindset of food focused, like you're a bit disconnected emotionally, and since you're both in that position, it works okay. The issue becomes though when someone moves to prep and the other one's in off season, you're no longer focused on food and just trying to survive the prep and so focused on the daily routine of everything you need to be doing, you become kind of selfish in that. But when someone gets off season, we've had those moments that you forget what prep is like, and so that is definitely the struggle.
But at the same time, I've been through the prep, you know, so you have a good perspective on what you are going through.
But it definitely presents challenges. You have to be like, as your competitor, realizing that you are more disconnected, and to realize that you need to give those emotions back to that person, especially when they're giving so much to you in support. She's such a big piece to me getting on stage. A lot of that can become very routine, whether it's helping with house chores to where my bodybuilding's easier. If that's the daily thing, it becomes like just the routine of like that's expectations of Renee when it's not. You have to always be thankful and be aware like someone's there helping you that much to where there's never resentment built up. So that is a challenge because for one, like for me to be very good at what I'm obsessed with bodybuilding, and my work is bodybuilding, so it's very bodybuilding everywhere.
And one thing that somebody out there might find useful is we've started checking in with each other 10 minutes at the end of the night and just kind of sit down, no distractions, and just check in with each other. It's really that simple. I really enjoy coming together at night, like making dinner together. And then even though it's like a simple dinner, right, we do the same thing pretty much every single night. Salad, chicken, low carb tortillas. But making that dinner together and then kind of decompressing on the couch and watching, like choosing our movie and watching our movie.
Probably lean a little bit harder into sci-fi horror. So it's an interest point for us, but bodybuilding, it's tough because you're a little bit restricted in what you can do. Trying to find clever food, things that we can cook. We have an outdoor kitchen, so we like to grill. Again, for us, like, important thing is having quality time. It's engaged. We don't have to have some extensive hobby to do it. Just really being attentive to the person and having that quality conversation. But those are some of the things that we like to do.
Yeah, and as a spouse of a bodybuilder, you know, you realize that competitive bodybuilding is not going to be forever. Really just being supportive of your person while they are a competitive bodybuilder, I think is really important.
But I also realize like what I do now in this time segment is what's going to allow me to then go all in on all the fun stuff we want to do, from the financial means to do so, and also just to not look back and have any regrets of that I didn't go all in with the time that I did have.
Or what could I have done, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to look back at that and think that.
That is a lot of conversation.